All right, there you go. So start the recording now. Right. So yeah. So thanks ever so much, Sarah, for giving up your time to come and speak to our students. So we've got a fantastic group of Access students, I'm sure, all in the audience, all really interested to hear your story. You know, about your kind of transition to university and kind of what happened afterwards. So I'm sure you're more than willing to kind of take questions. It's whether you want to do those as you go along or whether you just want to, you know, talk first and then ask. It's up to you completely.
Yeah, I'll talk first and then take questions after.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to hand over to you, and I'll keep an eye on the chat as well. So so anyone in the audience, you are more than willing to kind of, if you wanted to have a burning question, you can obviously put your hand up and ask, but we'll take them at the end or put them in the chat. And we'll pick those up. So I'll keep an eye on what's going on there. Now, you're not sharing slides, or are you?
No.
Okay, that's good. People get a bit PowerPoint crazy. All right. Okay. Over to you, Sarah.
Okay, so yeah, my name is Sarah Whale. I went to LSBU and studied LLB law, and so I'm just going to give you a little bit about my background, how I got to the point of starting an Access course, and just, you know, a little bit about me and who I am, and hopefully be able to relate to some of you. So like you, I decided to go back into education. I was 28 years old at the time, and I looked at Access courses to enable me to go to university. When I was younger, I didn't really have an interest in education. I came from a working class background in a family who didn't value education. I was set to be the first generation to attend uni. I was naturally gifted, but I didn't ever bother to do my classwork, and I often daydreamed. I was also a young carer at the age of 13. I had to look after my new baby sister, as my mother had suffered postnatal depression, but didn't seek help for it. So I was left to bring her up on my own, which made me even more disinterested in school. At about the age of 15, when you're doing your GCSEs, back then they made you see a careers advisor, and the careers advisor asked me what it was that I wanted to do, and I said I wanted to be a barrister. And she laughed at me, and she said that she didn't think I would even pass my GCSEs, and that perhaps I should look at work or look at something vocational. So this was obviously a major blow for me, and subsequently I stopped all effort with my education. I didn't revise for my GCSEs, but I came out with all C grades across the board, and it makes you wonder, you know, what I could have achieved if I had paid attention more, done my work and studied. I then enrolled in the BPTC, sorry, not BPTC, the BTEC National Diploma in Performing Arts, and I did pretty well. I'm a bit of a drama queen, so it's no surprise. But I didn't want to go to university after that. Drama degrees were worthless unless you went to a stage school. I was accepted to the New York Film Academy, where Steven Spielberg's son went in New York. But as my mother still was reluctant to care for my little sister, I wasn't allowed to go, and I needed her permission because I was under 21. So I threw in the towel and I just went to work. I had my first baby at 21 and continued to work, but the relationship I was in turned abusive. I was stuck in an abusive, violent relationship for 3 years before I found the courage to walk away from that. But I decided that I wasn't walking away a victim, and I used the abuse to make me stronger and more determined than ever. I was going to prove that I wasn't what he tried to make me believe I was. I had my second child at the age of 25, and by 28, I decided enough was enough. I needed more, and I needed an education to get me out of my dead-end receptionist job. I looked for access to law courses within commutable distance, but there weren't any apart from one in London, but I failed their test to get in. I, again, wasn't smart enough. So accepting defeat in law, I turned to my next love, which was science. And I enrolled on an Access to Health and Human Sciences course with the aim to become a nurse practitioner. During my time of the Access course, LSBU were holding an extended project workshop, which was aimed at helping us with our extended project, research skills, etc. And it was there that I found out that as a partner college, we were entitled to a conditional offer on a reduced tariff for other courses within social sciences, for me meaning law. I now had a huge choice to make, which left me in a bit of a conundrum. What do I do now? So I applied to all nursing courses, but I saved one option for LLB law at LSBU. I did well in my Access course and was accepted to Bucks, King's, Middlesex and LSBU. I was granted an unconditional offer to study law at LSBU, and at this point it was almost like fate was telling me that now is your time. So I did it and I accepted the unconditional offer, and all of the debt that goes with it, because at the time the nursing degrees were free. So within my first year at LSBU, I ran an extracurricular activity called street law. I was part of the Law Society and I took part in mooting. By my second year, I was still running street law. I went on to win the Moot Shield competition at the Inner London Crown Court, and I was accepted for placement with St Mungo's Welfare Rights team, and I was a student legal advisor at the LSBU Legal Advice Clinic. By my third year, I was still running street law. I was running mooting and competing externally against Oxford, Cambridge and Queen Mary. I was successful for an internship at a global procurement company out of my entire cohort as a legal advisor intern and successfully applied to the locum bank within St Mungo's. I was also a student legal advisor at the G Street County Court, where we would help with matters of housing, benefits, etc. Within my third year also, that was the time where I needed to apply for the BPTC, now called the BPC, and I also needed to apply for scholarship. There was no way that I was ever going to afford to pay the £18,000 to take the BPTC, so that scholarship was detrimental to me continuing my journey to become a barrister. Out of my entire year group, I was the only one to be accepted to all three major London BPTC providers, and I was the only one to be awarded not one but two scholarships from the Honourable Society of the Inner Temple, totalling £19,600. I passed LSBU with a first-class law degree, and I went on to study at the University of Law on the BPTC LLM housing. I gained a high commendation in my master's, and I'm waiting on the last of my results for the BPTC as COVID has delayed everything by a year. So I'm hanging on for the last bits of that. Currently, I manage a team of outreach workers for the London Borough of Hounslow, which is paid very, very well. And I wouldn't have been so lucky as to get this job that I'm in now if it had not been for the partnership with LSBU and St Mungo's. And I did all of this whilst raising two children on my own. I am looking forward to being called to the bar finally, hopefully in October, if COVID goes away, and seeing where my career in homelessness and housing goes. But one last thing from me, and some of you may be thinking that that is a lot of extracurricular activities to take on and may sound excessive. However, I want you to think about the people on your course, people who you will be competing for against, for a place in the world of law or whatever you go into, law being, my area and very, very competitive, is what makes you different. A first class, whilst extremely important, is just that. Every other student will end up with a first class law degree. And what you need to do is you need to do more. You need to set yourself apart. You need to be different. All of these extra things I did showed my extreme resilience and the ability to handle pressure, which are two key aspects when working as barrister or solicitor. And, you know, I'm sure in many other areas of employment that you go into. So do what you can, where you can, and don't be afraid to take on a challenge.
Wow, thank you, Sarah. It's really inspirational. I mean, so we can open this up to questions or comments or observations, but I mean, just to get started, what benefits do you think you brought to university having come from an access course compared to perhaps students who have just come straight from A-levels or BTEC?
I think the benefits that I brought is that I was ready. This was my choice as an adult to make. I appreciated cost. I appreciated the time and that I wasn't getting any younger. And, you know, I always thought about the end game and how old will I be when I qualify? You know, I don't have long. Whereas I think when you're younger, you may not be entirely sure that that's what you want to do. You may change your mind, and that's perfectly fine. And, you know, I don't think there's that appreciation of cost involved when you're younger as well, because you don't physically see the money passing through. And so, yeah, because it's your choice and you're an adult, you know, it's you want to be there.
And when you were at university, Sarah, did you manage to quickly find a sort of group of like-minded, kind of mature students when you were at uni?
It was quite funny, actually. There was probably only about 3 or 4 of us who were the more mature students, age-wise. And it was quite not intimidating, but it was quite surreal being surrounded by, you know, 18, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds. And my first friend that I made at university was actually forced upon me. He had come late. He was an international student and he had come late to lecture because I think there was something wrong with visa or something like that. And the lecturer said, oh, who is in, you know, group 6? And I was like, oh, I'm in group 6. He said, okay, you can show him around. And it was from that I was like, oh, okay. So, but we're still friends now. And, you know, he was only like 22 at the time, and I was a lot older, but I kind of, you know, the friendship groups kind of molded as you went into, you know, your little individual groups. And yeah, my group of friends were a lot younger than me. I was the mum of the group. But yeah.
I mean, I can keep asking questions, but I wanted to see if anyone else wanted to ask anything. So feel free to either, yeah, put your hand up or unmute. So I think Ian's unmuted, so that's a good sign.
Hiya, Sarah. Can I just ask, what was it about? Was it housing law that you're specialising in?
Yeah.
And what was it about that really appealed to you? Why is that particularly interesting?
Yeah, so when I had my first child, as I was working mother, and I was obviously fleeing domestic violence. Now, when I approached my local authority, I was told because I was working, I didn't have priority and I should go and rent somewhere. Now, I was earning, you know, just above minimum wage. I didn't earn enough to rent by myself. I was in a catch-22 situation, and the council basically left me sofa surfing. So I moved from my sister's to my mum's to my dad's, and I moved all the way up to Stoke. And it was when I was at Stoke that I got a job in the local authority housing department. And I learned my rights and I learned everything. And I saw a lot of injustice happen. And so it just made me all the more determined to fight back for everybody else who didn't know their right, who doesn't know their rights. I didn't know my rights. And it's such a fundamental part of your life, you know, accommodation, you know, housing, security, that you know, so many people were turned away that should have been helped. And if I can make that change, you know, then that is amazing.
Excellent. Yeah. It's really important aspect of law, isn't it? Yeah. That's great. Yeah, thank you.
Can I just ask Sarah, and again, I don't know if this applies to some in the audience, but could you just say a little bit about what it was like, the balance of being a university student and having a young family? How was that?
What I can say is, compared to an access course, it is an absolute breeze. The continuous shelling out of assignments every week on an access course, because essentially you're cramming a few years into a few months, it was very, very stressful. And that was when I was most stressed, was on the access course, trying to balance childcare and get my kids to sleep so I could do my assignments. When you get to university, I can't speak for other universities, for LSBU, for example, your first year, there are no assignments, not in law anyway. It's given you to just ease yourself in, and then even after that, it was so much more relaxed compared to the access course. And everyone says this to you, they all said it to me as well. Oh, when you go to university, it will be like a breath of fresh air. It really, really will. It really, really will. Doesn't mean you can work less hard though.
That's really good stuff. I mean, Ian, have others sort of alumni giving you that feedback?
Yeah, I think that's true, actually. And I think it is really, as you say, I suppose at university, the emphasis is more on you doing it yourself. You're expected to kind of study yourself, aren't you, rather than, it being kind of provided for you. So I guess it's learning the skills of being able to cope with that. Just on that, did you find the study skills units helpful? Having done those on the access course, things like note making, essay writing, was that helpful for you?
I mean, it translates, I think, because within law there were two styles of writing you could do. You could do essay writing, or you could do problem solving. Now I gravitated towards problem solving. I'm very practical, very logical. I want to attack an issue, find the answer, and be done with it. I don't like dilly-dallying around with essay writing. So I avoided all essay writing at all costs. I picked all my options based on whether or not I could do essay writing or problem solving. So I picked the ones I could problem solve on, because I knew that was my strong point. But one thing these, the skills, the study skills did teach me is that everybody learns differently. Mm-hmm. And you need to find your style of learning. Me, I am like one of the world's best crammers. I can store a lot of information in a very short amount of time, and perform very well the next day. But ask me a week later and I'll probably won't be able to remember any of it. But that's my style. I have to literally cram everything in my head because my retention is terrible. So where, before I was reading over long periods of time and then I wasn't remembering anything, you really, really need to find out what type of learner you are and go with that. So that's one thing I did learn from those skill classes, that there are different types of learners and you need to find which one you are.
Mm-hmm. Had you done seminars on the access course and like presenting to other students, and was that something that you found useful for university?
We didn't do any presenting, no. We did like group presenting, but no like individual presenting. And what it did teach me actually was that I didn't want to be a solicitor because I can't group work. Because there's always someone who will end up carrying the group. There's always somebody who just won't put their effort in. And so yeah, whenever I get asked the question, why not a solicitor, it's because I can't group work. I like being in control. I like, it to be my work. And so presenting in access course, that's what that taught me anyway.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
I think that's, what you're saying there as well applies to, as students here making their firm and insurance choice through UCAD. Some students might have already done that. What you've said is really important to find that, to do that research into what the university, how they assess students, that kind of thing, yes. What modules are available. When you were making your kind of final choices for university, what do you think were the key things that were important to you when you were looking at unis?
So obviously I was looking at it from a nursing perspective. So for me, it was what university was the best to attend. Where was I going to be trained the best? And obviously that was King's and that was Bucks. I know obviously LSBU is for pediatrics, but I was adult nursing. So for adult nursing, it was King's and Bucks, and that was what I was mainly focused on. Had I of wanted, you know, had I of gone down the law route rather than the nursing route, my opinion, well, they probably would have been kind of the same. It would have been who is the most, the highest performing in the league tables for law. But I didn't obviously have that choice with LSBU, and I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because at the time I joined LSBU, they were 72nd for law, which wasn't great. During my second year, they bumped all the way up to 13th for law in the league tables. But what LSBU done for me, what others couldn't do for their students, which I realised when I went onto my BPTC and I was around Oxford, Cambridge, Russell Group universities, is that I was so well versed. I had so much experience. I had done so much, and I was already a very strong advocate. And I had all this experience and I could handle anything that was thrown at me, whereas they had only just started that journey. And LSBU had already prepared me for the reality. So I think, you know, whilst yes, on one hand, how the university performs is very important, on the other hand, you need to think about what do they have to offer you.
And all those extra experiences are what basically stands you out, doesn't it, in any application process? And you've clearly taken advantage of. I
took everything. Literally everything that was offered, I took it.
Yeah, which sees the day, as we say.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically been me and Ian asking questions. So any students here would like to ask Sarah anything, I mean, feel free if you want to put your hand up and speak, or just put it in the chat. Oh, there you go. Not a question, but just to say how great it was. Yeah.
Oh.
It's always really nice to kind of hear other people's kind of career journey when it's, you know, clearly been so successful. Do you think you've approached university differently? Had you gone when you were, say, 18? Do you think you approached it totally differently?
Yeah, I always say this, if I had gone to university at 18, I wouldn't have got a first class law degree. I wouldn't be a scholar. I wouldn't, you know, have a commendation in masters. I probably wouldn't have even finished university, to be fair. I wasn't ready back then. Now, you know, I'm an adult, and it's funny that my dream of being a barrister has never changed, you know, from, you know, when I was young. It's been a consistent thing for me, but I just wasn't ready at the time. And I think, you know, the universe has a way of playing things into your life to stop you from doing things too early. And I think all those, you know, rejections I faced, you know, you're not smart enough or blah blah blah, was, you know, putting me in path for this, so that I can come at it when I was ready and do really well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the fact that you faced all those challenges has made you even more determined.
Well, there's a question: would you recommend access courses to friends or relatives? I put my little sister on one. She kept ringing me, Sarah, I want to set up a business. I need your help. I said, I did a law degree. I don't know what you want me to do. And I said, you need to do a business degree. She said, you don't need a business degree to open a business. I said, no, you don't. But, you know, if your business starts to fail, you'll have the tools that you'll need to be able to save it. I said, so you need to do an access to business course. And I don't care where you go, how you do it, but you're doing it. Stop ringing me. So she's now just she's got all of her offers in for Leeds, Liverpool, etc. And she's going to be heading off to university in September.
And what a role model you are for your own children as well.
Yes. They're already running around telling strangers, my mum's a barrister. I'm like, not yet, you can't say that.
Okay, so we've got here, what would you say to those who made you feel less than with the resilience you have shown thus far?
Without, you know, keeping it PG. Yeah, it's just, I would love, and I said this the other day as well, I would love to see that careers advisor again and just tell her exactly what I have achieved. But I was also published in The Guardian as well, so hopefully she's read that and remembers me.
You should definitely go back to your old school. Yeah, they can put an alumni news story on.
Well, the funny thing is my daughter now goes to my old school. So yeah, and some of the teachers are still there, and I've made them feel incredibly old now.
Okay, any other questions? Did you ever have, when you were, you know, those first few weeks of university, did you ever have any kind of moments where you thought, oh, what have I done, or am I doing the right thing?
Yeah, there was. You know, it is a big step, and you know, I didn't just get the negativity from, you know, external people. It was my own family as well. You know, as I said, they're not very pro-education. They didn't think that, you know, education was something our family could achieve. They didn't think there was any bright sparks in the family, and they all questioned whether or not I could do it. And so it has been a very big, you know, two fingers to everybody else kind of journey. And I've showed you. But yeah, you know, I doubted myself quite a lot. I was lucky enough, you know, to meet somebody who really believed in me, and all my peers at university really believed in me as well. This is, if anyone's going to make it, Sarah, it's going to be you. Like, you know, you're amazing. And you know, so I had them spurring me on. And when I wanted to quit, which I did many a times, and probably through Access course many of you have wanted to quit as well, you know, there's been tears, there's been tantrums, I've thrown books, I've, you know, wanted to quit numerous of times, but you know, just keep on doing it, pick that book back up and carry on. You're doing it for a reason. As a mature student, what's the best way of approaching making friends at university? Ooh, I think for me, people naturally gravitated towards me because I was very outspoken. You know, I didn't kind of like hide myself away. And I know making friends at university is a very, you know, challenging thing for some people, and a lot of people end up dropping out because they feel so lonely. But I honestly wish I could give a better answer to that. I think because you are, you know, mature student and you have that much more, you know, life experience, people naturally respect and gravitate towards you. So I was quite popular in university, not like on a friends basis, but oh, you know, Sarah knows, let's ask Sarah. You know, the night before the exam, I had everyone ringing me. I had to turn my phone off. Like, Sarah, I need help. Sarah knows everything. So yeah, I think your age kind of makes people gravitate towards you. For you parents of young children on our Access course, what would you recommend to help maintain resilience? Bedtime, routine. My children at 8:30 every day without fail, bed, no messing around. I didn't care if it was a weekend, I didn't care if it was a holiday, it was bed, and that was my time to study. They didn't like it very much, but at the end of the day, you know, they now have nice things in life because I've managed to get a very good job. So their suffering is worth it. But yes, definitely routine. If you don't have a routine, you're not going to make it.
Oh, I should have done that as well.
My house is run like a military operation.
That's my dad, obviously. Really good advice.
Great. I've got to go, Sarah, so because I've got another commitment. So, but it's really nice to meet you, and thank you for your excellent talk.
You're
great.
welcome. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, I mean, unless there's any other questions, I mean, I think we've come into the end anyway, but so we have recorded it, so we can share this with any students who haven't been able to join. I think some of yours, Paula, weren't able to join, but we've recorded it, so that's fine. So
are there any law students who are on today?
I don't think so, but there might. Is anyone in the audience planning to study law at university? I mean, they might not be here, but say they might very much recording. It's always a popular subject.
Yeah.
Sure, and again, LSBU is always quite popular as university as well. So
yeah,
if you are thinking about or planning to do law, just pop it in the chat. But it sounds like we've got a lot of psychologists.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So, thank you so much, Sarah. Amazing story, and anyone that studies and has young children, I just think, how on earth do you do it? So you've proved that it can be done. And
I got a lot more grey hairs too.
But yeah, wishing you every success, and we'd love to have, you know, when you hear, is it September you hear whether you're called to the bar?
So it should be October that I'm called. So yeah, hopefully if I'm back next year, I'll have been called and everything will be, you know, on track.
Yeah, well, we've got your contact details. I would love to kind of get you back in, because I think it's great story for all students to hear. Maybe at the beginning of their access course, this is probably this is quite late in the day, but maybe that's when people are just starting out. Great. All right. So I'm sure, the students will join me as well in thanking you so much. And we'll let you get on with the rest of your day.
Rest of my meetings. Yay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Bye-bye.